We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at vote.gov.
Can I get an amen?
Amen!
Now on with the show.
Donald Trump is now polling historically high in the RCP average, and that's not something you may expect to hear if you've listened to the mainstream media lately or you've been seeing the comments from left-wing pundits. I mean, currently they are celebrating. They're going crazy over the fact that they did this event last night in Atlanta, Georgia, which I will not deny got a pretty solid turnout, but a couple things to consider there. Let's fact check in today's video. Let's bring the discussion down to reality. First of all, it was a Megan Thee Stallion concert, okay? So yes, some of the people are probably here for Kamala Harris. A lot more were there just for the free concert. She is repeating the same strategy that Hillary tried to do, and we know how that went. But number two, even if it is undeniably still a pretty impressive crowd for a quote-unquote campaign event, have this reality check, which is that crowd size does indicate something that is true about Kamala Harris, which is she has significantly energized the Democrat base, at least in contrast to what it was under Joe Biden. That part is undeniably true. A lot more Democrats are excited to vote for her than they were for Kamala. Whatever turnout problem that Biden might have had, Kamala's not going to have it at least as much. But here's the difference. That does not tell the whole story, because while she may energize her base in deep blue metro areas, much like Donald Trump also energizes his own base, we know this election's going to come down to what? Swing states and independent voters. And I think when you break it down, you realize the reality that Kamala Harris has very little appeal with the independents, with the moderates, right? Who outside of the Democrat constituency does Kamala Harris really appeal to? And so if it is true that Trump can not only frame Kamala as unappealing, but even further demonstrate to independents that she is actively dangerous, and you've seen a lot of these recent ads saying that she is dangerously liberal, then we are in a good position actually to win the election. And I don't think anyone should panic, okay? I see some conservatives panicking because, wow, Kamala threw one big event. Then that said, let's go to the actual quantitative reality on this situation. And in the RCP average that dropped here yesterday, you can see here Trump is now polling at 48.1%, which is his highest ever margin in the history of RCP. Whether you want to look at the 2020 election or 2016 before that, highest national lead he's ever had. And by the way, let's not forget, RCP average is not just one poll. I'm not just showing you some outlier and saying, look, Trump is up plus 20. See, guys, see? No, this is an average of all of the major national polls, and that is the result that is being shown here. Now, what does that signify? Because you can see here, Kamala's margin also is not terrible. Trump is in the lead, but it is still a decently close race, I guess you could say, right? Trump is up almost 2 points nationally. What it shows, though, is that Trump is beginning to consolidate his support. And remember what I said about the people who are undecided, the independents. Well, what you're seeing now and what this would indicate, if these numbers are true, is that those types of voters are starting to come home for Donald Trump. Perhaps it's also true that they are much more scared of Kamala Harris than they were of Joe Biden. And so again, this is why we need to differentiate something like Kamala Harris's big crowd size versus the reality of the election, because again, that is a historically high number. And some other news on the election front, Nate Silver's 538 forecast, which for the record, I don't exactly find to be the most convincing or accurate thing ever, because they tend to lean way too far to the left, tend to be way too favorable to the Democrats. But before Biden dropped out, they actually gave Biden still a narrow chance of winning, but that has now changed. They are now giving Donald Trump a 61% chance of winning compared to Kamala Harris's 38%. And if any of this is surprising to you, it should not be. It just shouldn't. Because again, what do we keep saying is true? Kamala Harris will energize the Democrat base a lot more than Biden. That is certainly a concern. We have to focus heavy on turnout in this election. But outside of the Democrat constituency, she is not making a very strong appeal. And just to show you that contrast, let's just watch this right here, okay? This is Kamala Harris's campaign versus Donald Trump's campaign. Check it out.
We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at vote.gov.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. Now on with the show.
And who is that supposed to appeal to, right? Does that appeal to your average working class union worker in the state of Michigan, the type of people who ultimately might decide this election? Or does it appeal to the hardcore Democrat base who maybe were not super enthused about Biden, but now all of a sudden are excited? Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, I'm not saying to put all of your faith into the current polling, but again, Kamala is currently in her honeymoon phase, and she in many ways is squandering it by doubling down on increasing Democrat energy, that is true, but totally alienating independent voters. And here is yet another example of that.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Yes, we will.
By the way, let's keep in mind that Kamala Harris is a 25% Black woman who is also 50% Indian and was raised in Canada. So that was her at her rally last night in Georgia. Totally fake, obviously, as you can see. And perhaps that is the reality that people are going to come to realize once Kamala's honeymoon continues to fizzle out. And I'm not saying to get complacent about it, because it is our job to bring these realities to the American people. But the sheer fact of the matter is this: on a personal level, she's a total flip-flopper. She is totally dishonest. She is fake. And then on a political level, many of her past ideas are dangerous. She's now pretending like she does not support those things. She came out and said, oh, I'm not in favor of banning fracking. I'm not in favor of this and that. But it's very easy to have these sound bites and just show them to the American people. And then when you break down what is Kamala Harris actually campaigning on, I don't know. It's basically abortion and I'm brat. I'm a diversity hire. Wow, I'm so fun. Look at me dancing. And meanwhile, this is the substance. These are the issues that the Trump campaign is hammering home. And you have to question, outside of the core bases of the Democrat and Republican Party, whose message is more likely to resonate? Well, take a look and decide for yourself.
Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
This is America's border czar, and she's failed us. Under Harris, over 10 million illegally here. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl. Brutal migrant crimes. And ISIS now here.
Do you have any plans to visit the border? You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
Kamala Harris, failed, weak, dangerously liberal.
The contrast there is strong, folks. You can see the difference. One campaign is running on issues that Americans actually care about. The other is, I'm brat. Look at me doing this ad with the drag queens or something. Okay, so this is why, again, despite all the hype, it's not exactly surprising to me that even in Kamala's honeymoon phase, Trump just reached his highest ever polling number in the RCP average. Don't take that for granted. We should not trust polls 100%, even if it's the RCP average, right? So keep working like we are 10 points behind. But I just say this because, again, I do not want conservatives to be panicking about Kamala Harris. I can't stand to see it. You know, there's nothing better that we can do than demoralizing the opposition by showing we're working hard still, yes, but we're not panicking either. We're still confident. Kamala Harris is unable to shake us. And that is how exactly we should feel, because the race did just get closer, but Trump overall is still in the lead when you look at any major polling average. And this is Kamala's honeymoon phase. So it's only likely to get worse for her from here as those attacks begin to land. So do not panic, folks. But that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to follow me on Twitter/X in the link in the description. And until next time, God bless and peace.